here. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to part 2 of the My Major, My Career series focused on justice impacted individuals. My name is Haley Brown, and I am the Student Services Coordinator at UMA, where a key part of my role involves coordinating career services for UMA students and alumni. And as I mentioned last week, the My Major, My Career series aims to aid students in exploring the diverse career pathways available within their respective degree programs. And to date, we have featured programs such as mental health and human services, business, liberal studies, and computer information systems, among others. Recognizing the unique considerations within the PEP program, we're pleased to include this in the series. So during last week's session, we provided an overview of common UMA degree programs and corresponding career pathways that offer opportunities for our students. We also discussed the critical importance of transferable skills in the job search process. And furthermore, the session addressed the complexities of the reentry process, and we were pleased to host 2 attorneys from Pine Tree Legal Assistance and the Justice Collective, Pat, I believe.
Yeah, Maine Justice Collective
Yeah, Maine
and
Justice
Jonathan Sarbuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, they presented on the legal rights of job applicants, so that was super helpful. Tonight's session will include an overview of UMA's Career Connections program and other valuable resources that are available to you, such as the Maine Reentry Network and the Maine Department of Labor. We will also have a panel discussion with formerly incarcerated individuals who will share their post-reentry experiences, and that will be led by Patrick Flynn. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session led by Katie Ebert. So any questions before we get started? Okay, all right, let me share my screen here. We'll do some slides. Okay. Can everybody see the slides? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. So the UMA Career Connections Program provides valuable support to students and alumni surrounding career services. And really, it can be boiled down to 2 distinct areas: career planning skills and job search strategies. So in terms of the effective career planning skills, we offer help with identifying your skills and abilities. So what do you like to do? What are you good at? Defining your career goals. What are things that you'd like to do in the future? Making any potential connections between majors and careers. Obviously, there are some majors that are more straightforward than others, but we can talk about that. And then we also offer opportunities for students to conduct informational interviews and some networking. And that's particularly helpful because it's becoming not only important what you know, it's becoming who you know. That's also becoming equally important. So, and we offer meetings individually through Zoom and through, things like that. And we also have a couple of inventories that we offer for our students. One of them is the World of Work Inventory, or the WOWI. And the WOWI takes into account your interests, your values, and your skills, and it generates a list of potential careers based on how you answer. And then we have the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which is a personality assessment that's often used in career development and career exploration. It looks at things like, where do you get your energy? How do you take in and process information? How you make decisions, and also how do you prefer to live your life? Are you more of a planner, or are you more of a person who likes to take life as it comes? So those are the 2 that we offer in terms of the career exploration piece. And then next, we shift over into the job and internship search strategies portion. So this is more of the nuts and bolts of the career services offerings that we have at UMA. So we help with resume and cover letter writing. We offer interviewing help, whether you want to do a mock interview or look over some common questions and how you would answer them. We have job and internship postings in UMA CareerLink, which is our online job and internship database. And it's a blue cube on your UMA portal in the Launchpad. And then we also help, again, with networking and informational interviews, job fair preparation, if that's something that's, down the road. We help you develop your elevator pitch, again, spruce up your resume and develop strategies for navigating this experience. And then if graduate school is on the horizon for you, we also help with those type of applications. So if you'd like help with writing your essay or requesting letters of recommendation, or just even making sure that all of the information is correct on your application, we're happy to do that as well. So That's very quick. Any questions about the services that UMA offers? Go ahead.
Haley, I have a question.
Sure.
Um, for students who are in facility, what kinds of which services are available to them?
I would say all of these.
Fantastic.
Resume, yeah, because everybody needs help with the resume. Everybody needs help with interviewing. I know that, and this may vary from facility to facility, but there is a program called Big Interview, which is an online interviewing curriculum program. It also offers a mock interview component, depending on the settings. So that may be something that might be available. But yeah, I would say I have had PEP students have accounts on CareerLink, so they're able to go in and, you know, upload a resume and look for jobs that way too. So. And I do want to point out that these services don't end once you graduate, or, post-release. If you need help with your resume or anything like that, please reach out to us. We're happy to help. So, any other questions or comments?
I have one.
Go,
Pat,
Katie.
are there any special networking opportunities for justice impacted students at UMA?
Um, yes, PEP continues their outreach, and we are forming an alumni network. And that'll be our primary networking opportunity for students. We're not quite there yet. The more people we get in community, the more progress we make on making that a real.
Awesome. Anything else? Okay. So I think that's the slides for that. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And so we're going to shift gears into the resources portion of our session tonight. So we're pleased to have Bruce Nowden with us from the Maine Reentry Network, or MERN. MERN acts as a bridge between the formerly incarcerated and the wider community. So Bruce, would you please tell us about MERN and the amazing work it does and how our folks can get involved?
Sure. So I think I need to start out by, can you hear me clearly? Sorry, I'm in this weird room. By saying that I just took another position. So I'm not officially with the Maine Reentry Network anymore. A gentleman by the name of Jamar Williams is the new executive director for the Maine Reentry Network. And I've taken a position with the Maine Department of Corrections. And so, I'll be able to talk to folks. I just don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't start until Monday of next week, and I don't want to jump out ahead. But I can talk about the Maine Reentry Network because the one title I won't ever lose from Maine Reentry Network is I'm the founder. And we just kind of everything just kind of came together and closed up last week for me, but the organization continues. I think the kind of the best forward facing part of the Maine Reentry Network is the weekly statewide convening, which is a gathering every Tuesday morning at 9:30 of disparate organizations and people. And I love that that you talked about relationships, Haley, because that really is the most important thing. It's not the resources themselves, it's the people that represent those resources that are critically important. So we're not just making connections to a resources, we're making connections to humans. And that particular meeting that happens every single Tuesday is an opportunity to meet a lot of the different players that are in this space. Typically, the way our services work is that we like to start meeting with folks who are in prison at a minimum of 9 months prior to release. And that's the MOU that we have with the Department of Corrections to start that process at a minimum of that kind of time frame. And as it relates to education, that's where we work together with Pat and obviously all the other resources that are available. But we make that connection with Pat, so that, you know, right off the bat, there are folks that are inside that are kind of working on this thing together. The other part of the process is really listening to the person who's releasing from prison, and having a conversation, and finding out. And you know, you already hit a couple of things, Haley. You know, finding what these folks are really interested in, things maybe that they were really good at, um, things you know, that maybe they've been interested in but weren't certain that they could follow a career path doing it. One of my favorites that I remember is a gentleman who, after we made that statement, said, "Well, you know, I've always liked writing, but I never thought I could make a living doing it." And so we made this introduction um, for him to folks at USM's writing program, and we brought them in, and he got enrolled, and he ended up through connecting some other resources as well that paid for his tuition. Um, he got into the writing program, and even before that, he started writing some articles for Journey magazine, and was actually getting paid while he was inside of prison. It isn't quite as big a deal anymore. Right now, there are a lot of folks that are in prison that are getting real jobs right now. But at that time, you know, this is like 4 or 5 years ago. It was a really big deal. So, you know, there are a lot of folks that get into HVAC, and they get into welding, and they get into being electricians and so forth. But then there are a good number of folks that really want to pursue 2 and 4 year education. So we really encourage them to do so, and so many of the folks are um, taking advantage of the University of Maine Augusta educational opportunities. So we just make those connections, and then to every other resource that person needs, meaning every other person that represents those resources that we can possibly connect them to. And the through line with almost all of these folks is that, like me, they're folks that suffer from substance use disorder, have a history of substance use disorder. Um, uh, if they're not in recovery, they're typically trying to find out what recovery is going to mean, what it's going to look like for them. We try to put together a recovery plan, which, you know, a lot of these folks, while they're inside, they think, "Oh, I don't really have a substance use problem anymore." And one of my colleagues said many years ago, "While you've been inside, your disease has been doing push-ups." And that's a thing that I carry with me all the time, is that, you know, it doesn't go away, and you get out, and then the challenges start happening, and then you start falling back into those things that honestly, as a person who suffered from substance use disorder, still do. You know, I still know that it's there. um you know, it can grab you, and you got to be on guard at all times. So we really get into that kind of that recovery plan piece, addressing mental health challenges, things like that, whether it's treatment or other kind of peer-led ways of kind of talking about some of the challenges that we have with mental health, so that, you know, if you develop this amazing plan, and, you know, the caseworkers are working on it, guys like Pat are working on it, we're all working on it together, and you've got all the pieces together, but it's usually those human pieces, human parts, the emotional conversations that you have with folks, the overwhelming amount of decisions that you have to make out in this world that we all take for granted. That's where the peers on the outside, folks with lived experience of incarceration, folks with lived experience of substance use disorder and recovery, can be super helpful. So there's many parts, but it really is individualized. It's not cookie cutter. It's what each individual needs, or what each individual wants, and it becomes their plan. And as we all know, if it's their plan, then they've invested something in it, and hopefully they won't let it slip away. And if they see it slipping away, they know who they can reach out to help support that.
Oh, that's wonderful, Bruce. Thank you for your excellent information about the partnerships and networking opportunities and all that great stuff. So thank you. We're also pleased to have Justin Reed with us this evening. Justin works as the center manager for the Portland Recovery Community Center, and previously served as a statewide recovery advisor for the Maine Recovery Friendly Workplace Program. So today, Justin is here representing the Maine Department of Labor to share with us what's available to you post-release. So welcome, Justin, and take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. My name's Justin Reed, identify as a person in recovery. So for me, that means I've been over 10 years as of December, abstinent of drugs and alcohol. In terms of this presentation, that journey started incarcerated in Cumberland County Jail. That was my first day of recovery and abstaining from drugs and alcohol. And really at that point I was feeling pretty hopeless. It wasn't the first time I was sitting there incarcerated. The year before, I think I spent about 5 months continuously there, and it was just like this constant in and out kind of situation where I wanted recovery but didn't know how to do it, and eventually just all the circumstances aligned where I was broken down enough. I had explored recovery, had met some people and met those connections and realized, it was possible. There were people doing it, and just invested a lot, everything I had, and figured it was worth giving a try. And other people invested a lot, gave a lot of their time, a lot of that time for free, and just, continue to meet with me, I guess, mentor me, and really just, give me a lot of suggestions. And it was my choice to either grab onto those suggestions and try it or not. But I'd done the opposite long enough that I knew that, doing half of the suggestions and doing it half my way was going to end me up back in the same place, and ultimately got to a place where I realized, I wouldn't make it much longer if I didn't give it my all. And so that, has resulted in a beautiful life, and just have got to participate in and gain things that I had given up on, and starting in my mid-20s, like getting married, like becoming a dad. I now have a 3.5-year-old, and you know professionally speaking, in the recovery world, just like this evolution. But I think, it's important to rewind a little bit. I was just reflecting at the beginning of this presentation and thinking about like how education plays into my story. And I kind of did it backwards. I went to college right out of high school, but I was already deep into my substance use disorder, and went to Florida, chose a school based on, what the party life would look like there, and the interactions there, and nothing to do with academics. And that didn't last long. I was there for about a year and a half, and got to a point where I didn't go to classes, and apparently that doesn't work out so well in college. And they said, all right, pack your bags, head back to Maine. And, I was a little resentful, and didn't understand, why that didn't work. But I got back to Maine. It's like, all right, let's retry this. Was still very much so into partying, and decided to go to Southern Maine Community College, and that criminal justice would be a wise degree for somebody that was, breaking the law on a daily basis. And I spent my time in those criminal justice classes with police officers, generally intoxicated, but I did fairly well and got that degree. But, in hindsight, I was getting towards graduation and realizing I just spent years getting this degree that I could do nothing with, because I couldn't pass a polygraph. I was, under the influence of opiates, prescription medications every day. And so not the best choice, right? But it got me a degree, which helped me to get some jobs, I guess you could say. But my progression just continued with substances, and really got to this dark place by the time I was 30, where I walked away from all the relationships that meant anything to me, and just was ready to give up. And I'm glad I didn't. Recovery didn't work out immediately for me. It took a bunch of tries, but I guess looking back, learned things along the way in each one of those tries. And I don't want to go over my time. I have no idea what's allotted, but didn't give up. And
Fine.
then as soon
You're
as I
fine.
got in, as soon as I got into jail that last time in December of 2014, I was sitting in Cumberland County Jail. I just, had my mom come in, I think like the day before, and talked to me about how things were, and I said, things really kind of stink. That's not the word I used, but I was like, it's hard to sleep in here. I didn't let her know I was detoxing, and just saw her like on the verge of tears, and she said, well, it stinks in here because you were here last year too for Christmas, and something just hit me, and I was like, man, like I am, I have a serious problem with substances, and that's why I'm here. And despite that conversation, the next day I found out there were some substances in the jail, and was trying to get some of those substances, and somebody else did first, and they fatally overdosed while I was in jail, and something just like happened inside me where I was like, that is me. I could see no difference between this other gentleman and myself, and I couldn't escape that situation. That was kind of like my MO in life, to escape those situations through substances or just, running away from it somehow, whether it be my location or, internally. But that's when I gave it up my all. As I mentioned earlier, I wish it didn't have to happen that way. But the condition was for me to get out of jail was I had to go to get some treatment. And so I did that. And that's where the journey of recovery started. After some treatment, went to sober living. And that's when I started to think about like recovery support as a profession. And I think a lot of people do that. But I realized I had to like work on myself a lot first. So I got a job like at a call center. There was a lot of people in recovery around, but recovery friendly workplaces weren't an official thing back then, but they were very supportive of people in recovery. And I remember going to that interview. Had 3 felonies on my record, and I was terrified. I thought I'd never get a job again. And we got to the point where we we're talking about that. And I just came out and said, like, before the hiring manager cut, I said, here's the situation. Like, I have these felonies. I'm in recovery now. Here's what I'm doing about it. And I just kind of went on more than necessary. And I remember that guy looked at me and he just said, we all have our stuff. And like, do you want to work or not, basically? And I said, all right. Like, and I was just so relieved that guy gave me a shot. And I did my best I could at that call center and stayed there for like a year and a half. And after that year and a half, had the opportunity to manage a couple sober houses or recovery residences. And at the same time, I got this part-time job working a few hours a week at Portland Recovery Community Center as just, a peer support person working on the weekends, making sure the place stayed safe and people were connected to resources if they need to. And just kept doing my best, kept working on my recovery, and things kept evolving. Started working, as a volunteer with the Scarborough Police Department, the police department that charged me with those 3 felonies a couple years prior with Operation Hope. And like, I don't know if I was supposed to, but I had the code to the police department, could just like walk in like I was a police officer, and with the intention of helping people get support. And I was like, this is just kind of blowing my mind, like why this would be allowed to happen. But when Bruce was talking, like back at that time in like 2013, 2014, I remember like being desperate for resources, for recovery. And there was like an AA meeting going on once a week, and sometimes it wouldn't. And like there was nothing to do, like productive with recovery, with, learning. And so I'm just like so happy to see that stuff that, is coming into police departments, starting to come into the DOC system, and little opportunities kept coming. And I know, it's still not perfect, but to see where it was to what's going on now, with different people being employed within the DOC, the different partnerships, like I just see opportunity. And, like I said, I think everybody has a choice to grab onto it or not. And hopefully things continue to evolve. But I guess jumping to, fast forwarding a bit, I did recovery coach coordination. And again, like people in the DOC were getting to participate in those classes, going to Mountain View and training those classes. Again, I was like, why am I allowed into a DOC facility with, a person like me? But it was happening. And just like, that was something that was really special to like go from one side of the spectrum to getting to come in and seeing men and women, into this recovery thing, helping each other. And then a few years later, did the Recovery Friendly Workplace program about a year and a half ago. The state provided funding to create a program to help employers understand recovery and support people in recovery, whether it was somebody that worked there for 10 years and was struggling with drinking or substances, or their family member, like thinking about my mom working a full-time job while she was trying to support me getting into treatment or support me while I was in jail. Like that's a, situation that's going to affect people's work life. And are we creating environments within the workplace that are going to support all those situations and ask good questions and ask what people need? So it's not just about recovery. It could be, I look at it as recovery support, mental health support, or like I think we all have tough situations in life that like we just need a little extra help and, somebody to ask what we need. So I got to create these trainings that like help employers understand about substance use disorder, how to use Narcan, um, different styles of recovery, because I think a lot of people have heard about like AA and Narcotics Anonymous, things like that, but they don't know there's like hundreds of recovery opportunities out there for peer support, smart recovery or Wellbriety, just the list goes on and on. So it went really well, and large companies around the state are continuing to embrace it and learn, and UMA went through that process, and it was just really cool to see people that don't identify as having substance use disorder ask all these good questions and like want to help more and really just learn, because you see some of the stigmatizing stuff on social media or in the news where people just talk really poorly about people affected with substance use disorder. But the other side, there's also a lot of people that want to help. So through Recovery Friendly Workplace, we created a job board. So businesses and organizations that have been through the trainings can post their jobs on the Recovery Friendly Workplace website. And so I think it's an awesome resource, for folks that are looking for opportunities. We're also really, as part of that training series, talking about second chance or fair chance hiring and really asking folks to consider that they hire folks with criminal records and the circumstances, and help them understand that from whatever time folks landed themselves into incarceration until the time they're applying for a job, a lot can happen. A lot of work on self can happen, and growth and recovery. So we don't make people do anything with the Maine Recovery Friendly Workplace program or require they follow any rules, but we just hope like with continued conversations they understand that. And so yeah, I think for folks that are being released, looking for employment, feel like I do, like I'm never gonna get a job or create a meaningful life, that could just be um, a lie you're telling yourself. It was a lie I told myself, and found out there was a different truth that existed. So here for support anytime. I don't do the Recovery Friendly Workplace anymore. I'm center manager now at PRCC, but continue to see people just grow and evolve every day. So I don't know if that's what I was supposed to talk about, but there it is.
No, that was terrific. Thank you, Justin. I have a question for you. You have mentioned the Recovery Friendly Workplace, the Jobs Board, and that's through the Department of Labor. Is that right?
So the funding's from the state of Maine. The state of Maine provided the contract to Pine Tree Institute, and
Okay.
so the answer is no, not through the Department of Labor,
Okay.
but through state funding. We developed the program with PRCC and Pine Tree Institute.
Okay. Your experience was maybe 10, 11 years ago. Um, in addition to the Recovery Friendly Workplace and the Jobs Board and the things you've mentioned, how else should people coming out within the next year or so be thinking about their job search? What can they do to prepare for that? Who's out there for support and so on?
Yeah, it's a good question. So things like the jobs board on the RFW website are great, but something I've also seen really well, and kind of looping back to that connection piece, is connecting with other folks in the recovery community. Before there was a recovery friendly workplace program, I'd see people come into Portland Recovery Community Center, just start making those connections and talking to people, and organically, within the community, the recovery community specifically, you hear folks talking about like, hey, I work at the Holy Donut, or I work at this hotel in downtown Portland, and there's a bunch of us in recovery there. So like they have a little community within these different workplaces where the employers are understanding, could be of a criminal record, or could be of the fact that somebody's in sober living and has to attend, a house meeting on a certain night. And that was really happening before there was any official program. So we have a jobs board at PRCC in particular, where people come in and they post different job opportunities. A lot of folks in recovery, have companies and will post opportunities. We have folks from the Main Career Center coming in once a week now on Tuesdays that help folks with resumes and look at other job opportunities within their network of employers. So I would really promote, at this point, we have 20 plus recovery community centers around the state. So just like connect with those places, call us at PRCC, we can help you get connected, and find that community, because, people talk and share valuable resources all the time.
That's fantastic. That sounds like something almost anyone can do. Connect with a recovery center and they can lead you from there. So that's terrific.
I had
Katie.
a quick question for both kind of Bruce and Justin. What advice or words of wisdom do you have for maybe some of our, students who are in our PEP program, who are at that stage of feeling like 2 steps forward, 1 steps backward, or like I'm making progress and then I'm regressing, and then I'm making progress and then I'm regressing?
Guess I unmuted first. I I don't think there's a cookie cutter approach to that. I do think the thing that I've seen personally with folks that make it, that have been in prison, and whether they've engaged in education or not, but the folks who persevere, who when they get knocked down, they get back up, and the ones that get back up with help, like, with other people around them to help them get back up. A lot of folks say, oh, I just have to do this on my own. I got to do this. I got to do. It's the folks that connect with the community, are connected with community, um, that find it a whole lot easier to get back up after they've gotten knocked down, because everybody around them has been knocked down, and they've gotten back up. And that ties in with what Justin's talking about. If you're connected to a recovery community center, you're surrounded by people that have been through a whole lot of hardships similar to yours, and typically a lot worse, and come out of it. They're these shining living examples of folks who have been through some really hard times, not just one, not just two, but many, many dozens, and of challenging times. And it's that connection and not having to do it alone. If you do it alone, and I warn folks that are inside of prison, if you decide to do this alone, then we're going to see you again. We're going to see you in jail. We're going to see you in prison. For some folks, and I hate to be morbid about these things, but we see them dead. And so I've never seen anybody recover alone. I had a whole community of people around me when I was in recovery. Sounds like Justin and I went into recovery around the same time. It's been almost 11 years now. And I still have people that I rely on. I still call people. I was just talking to somebody the other day. I was going through a tough thing, and I just called him and said, just having a tough time, need somebody to talk to. And if you've got that, then you can make it through those tough times, but you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, that was a great answer. And I think aligns with what I was thinking is, several times I had great ideas and wanted recovery and was released, and tried to do things differently, but yet was hanging out with the same people. And maybe we had good intentions for a couple days, but then I found myself at a bar with those same people, or doing something else with those same people that got me there in the first place. And I had to change those things, and really hang out with like-minded people. So whether it's, you know, like-minded people about recovery or about education, I found myself, you know, creating a mix of new relationships. Some people that were like at this similar place to me or stage of recovery or journey. And then also some people with like lots of experience, like people that experienced like 20 years, 10 years, you know, substantial amounts of time that I could see through their actions, not just, you know, lip service and stuff they said in a recovery meeting, but literally watch what they were doing, and connected with them and use those people as the ones like I'd ask, like when I was trying to make a big decision. You know, there's lots of big decisions to maybe pursue or not pursue in early recovery and early release. And I just really relied on those people and essentially feel like trusted them with my life. You know, I was like, I clearly don't know how to do this after living for 30 years without ending up back in jail or ending up back high or drunk. So why not? And you know, like Bruce said, that continues. It's no different over 10 years later. I might not be calling my sponsor every day like I was, but I still call them when I need to, or, you know, doesn't have to specifically be a sponsor, whatever those people are that, you know, feel like point you in a good direction. Because I've struggled, you know, in recovery too, whether it be at the very beginning and, you know, facing challenging situations. But it's just a matter of, you know, if I get denied a job, I'm gonna go apply to another. I have choice. Like I can go pick up a drink because I didn't get a certain job or that person didn't treat me the way I wanted to, or I can go, you know, and pursue the next opportunity. And I think that's what Bruce was talking about. You know, keep going, get the support, and just look ahead. And don't look back because that never served me before.
So many of our students will be in recovery, but many of them will not. So it wouldn't really be available to those students to go to a recovery center, necessarily a network. Are there other places that students can network formerly incarcerated in order to get that kind of support?
So,
And I think that's the question Travis just asked as well.
so, you know, we end up thinking about more of the conventional supports that are out there, but there are also peer-run recovery centers that kind of follow a little bit different track than recovery community centers and focus a little bit more on the mental health side of things. This is just my theory. Anybody can say whatever they want to about what I'm about to say, but if you go into prison and you don't already suffer from some sort of trauma, when you get out of prison, you will have trauma. And,
Mhm.
and that, you know, those kind of supports can be very, very helpful in those kind of spaces. The other thing that I'll say, and you know, Justin mentioned the career center coming in. You know, I'm a member of I was appointed to the state workforce board a few years ago, and I just push for people to go to your career center. The career center now is not your career center back 4 or 5 years ago when you'd walk into the career center and you would say, "Oh, I've been incarcerated. I just got out of prison and I'm looking for a job," and they would point toward a computer over in the corner. Go over there and apply for jobs. That's not the career center anymore. And I tell people, if that's the way you get treated at the career center, call me because I'm going to call somebody right now and say that is just BS. And there are typically in all of the career centers, at least one, typically two people that are dedicated to supporting people who have been incarcerated. So there are those supports there. And it's just as important for them in their positions and any other positions at the Career Center that they're engaged with employers and potential employees. So when someone comes in that's been incarcerated, that's engaged in education, they should already have a whole kind of list of people that of employers that need folks like that person they're talking to right in that moment, and they should be giving them some options. There should be at least half a dozen options. Hey, you could look into this, you could look into this, I can connect you with this and connect you with that. And really it's a matter of folks being advocates for themselves when they go to the career center and say, these are the things that I want. This is the career center, which is a state thing that we all pay for as taxpayers. They're federally funded as well. You work for me. help me find a career, a career that heads me in a meaningful direction. And then on top of that, we also have, folks like Workforce Solutions. We have Eastern Maine Development Corporation. If you're up north in Narissa County, you have ACAP, which are connected in with grants, federal grants like WIOA and Quest. And so there are opportunities, and you can access all of that through the Career Center.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Travis, does that answer your question pretty well too?
It does. Thank you. And there's a career center obviously in Cumberland and obviously spread throughout the state, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
All regions of the state of Maine. Yes.
Nice.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
This might
So I'd
sound
like to
weird.
bring. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
Sorry, I was gonna say this might be a little outside the box and a little weird. It's like not saying go to the career center, go to a recovery center, but if people, aren't in recovery, it's just about, I think, it can be helpful. Think about like what's important to you, like what your vision is for the future. And so, like, for example, I don't identify as Christian. We just moved to a new town, and last weekend we went to a local church that seems to align somewhat with our views and met community members. Within the last year, I went to a Rotary meeting, which I thought like previously was for old people and didn't understand what actually happened there. I went to this Rotary meeting and I heard what they were talking about of like these things they're putting positive energy into and causes. And so that part's cool, but the other cool part is these are generally people that are connected in the community, right? And Maine has a lot of little communities within our very large state, and you can make connections like they know Joe owns a lumber company or whatever the case may be, and is, more than likely to hire somebody with the record and just making connections that way. And there's just so many different opportunities to do that. I'm not saying you have to go to church, but if you're religious or Christian, maybe that would be an opportunity. But there's a lot of different places out there, and like Bruce said, there's a lot of people that are getting funding to do these jobs and really want some work to do and are really happy when people connect with them and are looking to be proactive and pursue a career and get a second chance essentially. So
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to bring in Brendan Gray. Hello, Brendan.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Thanks for having me.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Brendan, you and I met, I didn't look it up, but it probably a year and a half ago. I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah, shortly before I got out,
Yeah.
probably August of 23, I'd say.
Yeah. So you've been out for some time.
Yeah.
Can you talk about when you were inside, what kind of concerns did you have about finding work?
Well, with my criminal record, I knew that finding conventional employment was going to be pretty difficult. Luckily for me, I build fishing nets with my dad. He has a fishing net business, so I got into that. So I didn't really have any concerns with finding employment um, that way, but for most people, they would probably run into issues with.
Brendan, you there? Oh, are you reading the chat? Brendan?
I came out, it froze.
You hear
Oh,
me?
wait, there he is. We
Hello?
lost you for a bit there.
Okay.
Yeah. So, have you been working for your father ever since, or have you found some other positions as well?
Well, I've applied at several places. I applied at Hannaford, a couple Hannafords around here, and they would not hire me because of my criminal record. So I've taken up some side hustles, a DoorDash, and I do some crypto trading as well. And I I dabble in website development, freelancing, other than the network, but
Okay. So, what was your experience with Hannaford like, if you don't mind just talking a little more about that?
well, I mean, I went in for an interview and they didn't even ask me about my criminal record. I did disclose it to them though, and I never got a call back. So
Okay. So that worries me, and it probably worries Justin and Bruce as well, because we have often, in last week, we gave people the advice that you should be transparent about it. So
yes.
I don't know, Justin or Bruce, if you want to comment.
So are you engaged in education? Were you doing stuff with UMA?
Yeah, I'm currently a student at
Yeah, he's
UMA.
still on my caseload.
Still
Yeah.
there? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What part of the state do you live in?
I live in central Maine, Palmyra.
Okay. So it, a- as a quick answer in this moment, I would typically refer you to Eastern Maine Development Corporation, and have them connect you up, especially right now, since the Quest grant is still going until the end of, at least till the end of September. They may get a no-cost extension to keep it going, but the Quest grant really gives you an opportunity to kind of pursue meaningful employment, and you'll have a coach that'll work with you, that you're going to fill out a questionnaire. You're going to talk about the things that you're interested in, the career path that you're heading for. If there are any things that you need that cost money, they will pay for those things, up to a certain point. It's around $8,000 or so. The and they'll continue to coach you, moving along. So I really think it's an opportunity to develop a relationship, with them, and take advantage of either that particular program, because that one's just really wide and open and gives you an opportunity to do a whole lot of different things. But the aim is to be engaged in meaningful employment and a meaningful pathway, meaningful career pathway. And that's what that grant is all about. And I'd be more than glad to connect you with the folks that you need to talk to there for intake.
Yeah, I would absolutely be open to that. Eastern Maine Development Corporation.
Yeah, I'll put the
Oh,
email.
it's in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah,
Haley
I put it in the
the
chat for
website in
you.
the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
I like
and
to,
that,
sorry, Justin. I'd like to put the actual email to the person that you need to
Hmm.
make contact with. And I'll find it while Justin is talking.
yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely an unfortunate circumstance, but it is going to happen. And depending on the job, in terms of, somebody may even get to the point where they get an offer letter, a background check's completed, and then at that point, things don't work out because of that background check with different positions. If it's in a healthcare system, there may be certain requirements, or with different professions. And even if there's not, I think a lot of companies aren't at the place yet where they've got to the point where they can embrace this fair chance hiring methodology. But on the flip side of that, from my experience, I can reflect back now and say, well, then that job wasn't meant for me, because I want to be at an employer where I'm surrounded by some folks that I'm going to feel supported. And if that's, it's not, I can't say what's right and wrong, not ideal situation. If that's their way of thinking at this point in time, that's not the place for me. And it's too bad it has to be that way, but that's just the reality.
Yeah. Travis, you have your hand up.
Yes, with this Eastern Maine Development Corporation grant, what are the requirements to actually use their services? Do they disqualify anybody from using their services, or is it open to everybody?
It's open to everybody. It's wide open.
Okay.
And can I ask Brendan, what county is Palmyra in? Is it in Kennebec or is it in Somerset?
Somerset County.
Okay. So actually, Drew Rondo, who Pat knows,
Yeah.
is the referral source for Somerset County. So Pat, if you've got Drew's email, just just say to him, you need to refer Brendan to Eastern Maine Development Corporation.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the direct referral source. So he sends the referral to the folks at EMDC, and they'll take care of it from there.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. So they kind of called medication call while while Brendan started talking. So I'm not quite sure what I missed. Sorry, Brendan. Good to see you. I kind of didn't get to see you before you left,
Yeah.
but good to see you again. It's been a while. But they
Yeah.
called medications, so I wasn't quite sure what I missed. So is there any way we can do a small, like maybe 6 minute recap right before I came back and we did the referral for the development grant? Or
Yeah. So the good news, Travis, is that we are recording this. Yes. Okay.
never
So
mind, perfect. I got it. We'll look at it later.
yeah.
The important thing to remember with what I'm talking about with Eastern Maine Development Corporation is that there are three different organizations that administer the Quest grant and WIOA. One of them is Eastern Maine Development Corporation, and that covers certain counties, most of them actually, except for Aroostook County and except for the southern counties and the coastal counties, and I'll name those off. So if you're going to be in York County, Cumberland County, Lincoln, Knox, Saginaw, or Waldo, then you want to be connected with Workforce Solutions. They administer that grant. If it's all the other counties except for Aroostook County, it's Eastern Maine Development Corporation. And then if it's Aroostook County, it's ACAP, Aroostook Community Action Program.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll be going to Cumberland, so I will look up Workforce Solutions. Thank you very much.
Yep, and that one is intake@workforcesolutions.org.
Okay. Just connecting you, Brendan, with Drew Rondo. So two of you can start that conversation. So at this point, are there any other questions from Travis or anybody else about people's recommendations, people's experiences, resources, anything at all? And I'll turn it over to Katie Ebert to manage those questions.
Thanks for the
Your
tee up.
intro, man.
All right. If anybody has questions, feel free to just jump in and ask them or drop them in the chat, and I will be happy to read them out loud. All right. Thanks for dropping that in there, Justin. We'll absolutely share those resources out and
Well, it's not
contacts.
so much a question. It's more,
Yeah.
well, I guess it is a question actually. So obviously we have MERN. Is that the only recovery network in Maine that's available for incarcerated people that are going to be coming out?
You called it a recovery network.
I'm sorry, reentry network. I apologize.
There are other organizations that are doing reentry work. I will say that, like PRCC has had some programs that have been in the prisons before, especially around recovery coaching. Volunteers of America has done some stuff with reentry. I will tell you that it's a difficult field, especially in the area of funding, and especially right now with our current administration, the funding for organizations like MERN are pretty difficult, and any nonprofit doing this kind of work. So there are not a whole lot of organizations that. Also, I guess I would mention MPAC, Maine Prisoner Advocacy Coalition. They make connections for people with reentry resources, but it isn't their main focus. So That's my best answer.
Okay, because I am out in roughly September, around September 25th, and I've yet to meet with any kind of reentry network or anything like that so far. So I was just curious if there was other reentry networks or anything like that that I can contact myself or anything like that. So,
Um, oh man. Um, I haven't started my new job yet. So I'm not going to say anything about that, but I will say that there is a mandate. It's legislatively mandated that your caseworker is supposed to start engaging with you at 9 months prior to release. So you should have already had a conversation about what that's going to look like with your caseworker. And then, you're in the driver's seat. And I tell guys, if you have a caseworker that is not responsive, then be a real pain in the ass. Because this is your reentry.
Mhm.
And if you're not getting the response that you want or that you need, then you need to advocate for yourself the best that you can without pissing people off.
Oh, no, of course. So I do have a caseworker that has, she's setting me up as best she can, but she can't obviously call any housing until I think it's like 30 days out, something like that. She can't really set me up a DOL. I think it's until next month. No, I'm sorry, June. I can't get in contact with DOL services until June.
Mm-hmm.
But you were saying earlier in the session itself that I was supposed to potentially start talking with MERN roughly 9 months out, and
Well,
I haven't spoke to any reentry services
no,
yet. So
sorry for that misunderstanding. There's no possible way for MERN to have met with every person that's getting out of prison.
of course,
And so that's just for the people that we engage with, that we want to start meeting with them at 9 months prior to the release date. That doesn't mean that they're mandated to connect you with MERN.
oh,
They're
okay.
they're
I'm sorry.
No, they are not. And honestly, over the years, since MERN started in 2017, we've never gotten much over meeting with 10% of the people that are releasing from prison per year. So I think one year we hit like 11 or 12% of the people that were releasing. So that leaves a lot of people that aren't getting met with. And it would take millions and millions and millions of dollars for MERN or any other organization like that to be able to meet with everybody that's getting out.
Of course. All right, thank you.
So Travis, I know that Peter Savidio is aware of MERN, and I know that students at UMA and at MCC have spoken with MERN. So I can connect you with Drew Rondo and let him know that you're interested in meeting with someone. And Bruce, I don't know going forward, but how often does MERN rep make it to MCC, make it to Wyndham?
Yep. Prior to not getting the latest
Yeah.
funding stream,
Right. Right.
a lot.
Yeah.
But right now, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. But what we've been doing is just, if people reach out to us, we've been taking the time to meet them, and it's always on Zoom.
Yep.
I think too, I know Bruce is starting, I think he said Monday, but I'm not sure if you know Travis, Tori Arsenal, who's the recovery program coordinator. She used to work for PRCC, and I think might be able to help with some connections if you have the ability to talk to her with whatever you might be looking for to create that network, in addition to whatever is happening with your caseworker, case manager. Because I know, from my experience, not to put myself in a bad position here, but people are stretched thin and may or may not be doing what exactly is supposed to be happening on the timeline that should be happening. So really sometimes it's like just keep advocating, like Bruce said, for yourself, keep asking, try to connect with Tori, and might be able to create some of those connections in addition to the technical timeline that's supposed to happen.
Oh, of course, and as we all know, the case is usually hurry up and wait. So I mean, there's only so much people can do, and the amount of time we're given. And just as Bruce said, there's a lot of funding cuts that's happened, so there's a lot of understanding that people need to have, and a lot of patience that people need to have. And sometimes that's a really hard thing to have, especially being incarcerated and not knowing what's going to happen next. And I'm one of those people that have a hard time with patience sometimes. We all struggle with those kind of things. Nobody's perfect, especially being incarcerated or just getting ready to get out. It's a hard thing to have patience not knowing what's going to happen next. But I mean, it's something we all gotta learn to do. And that's something I'm working on as well. So I mean, it's something we gotta do. I mean, I have a lot of good things going on for me too. So it's not like nothing's good's happening. It's just that I'm working on reentry. I'm trying to make sure I have everything I need going forward so that way I don't ever come back here. I'm graduating soon, so I'm trying to drop my recidivism rate as much as I possibly can so that way I can move forward in my life from this incident.
You may not know this, Travis, in this moment. I would say you're better prepared in this moment than 90% of the rest of the folks that are in DOC. The fact that you're engaged, the fact that you're asking these questions, you're going to get there. You're going to get there. No reentry is perfect, but I really have a good feeling. I don't know you, but I have a really good feeling that you're going to get there because you're doing all the right things and you're asking all the right questions.
Thank you very much. I definitely appreciate the confidence, and I appreciate all the support you guys have given and all the resources you guys have given. I'm definitely going to utilize as much as I possibly can to move forward and build as much as I possibly can with my caseworker and see what happens.
I'll just say, I think it was last week, a gentleman was sitting in the cafe at PRCC, and Nikki Curtis, who worked at Journey Magazine and is now working at PRCC again, just, called me over to introduce me to somebody. And the gentleman was, just introduced himself and was talking about the good things that were going on. And he was at MSP not that long ago. And he's like, oh, I've been wanting to make it over here for a few weeks and just been getting my living situation straightened out. And, I think what Bruce just said, there was a few hurdles in the reentry process, but he made it over and just kept going. But it was really cool to hear about what he had lined up already in the last few weeks, and then what he was looking at in the future and hoping to line up and start, connecting with more people and creating that community. So I was just really happy that, I had that conversation, and just again kind of helped me rewind time to my own story when I remember myself being in a similar situation, just coming from a different place. So
Brendan, fresh coming off of your transition, is there any like words of wisdom or things that you kind of wanted to share about the reentry process, or something that you kind of wish you knew going into it, but now that you're on the other side of it a little bit, now do you know?
It's a lot. I mean, I wasn't prepared for, I thought I was when I got out of prison. I thought I was prepared for all of the challenges I'd face when I got out and just how busy life is, There's so much to do, so much obligation, responsibilities. Just take it easy, take it slow, give yourself space, give yourself permission to do things at a pace that's comfortable for you. I guess that would be the, the best advice I could offer.
I think that's great advice. Thank you. All right. Well, does anybody have any wrap-up questions or anything else that they want to
Can I just say something quickly? That was awesome. That was awesome. I mean, if you could bottle that up and just because guys are so anxious to get everything done in day 1, 2, and 3, and it takes just so much longer. Thanks for that. I hope you can keep spreading that word. And that's coming from you. When it comes from me, guys are like, "What do you mean? Be patient? Come on, man." And it's coming from you. That was really wise. That was good.
Appreciate it. I keep going all day.
Maybe that should be your new side hustle. Words of wisdom for $5.
Start making YouTube videos or something.
Brendan Gray, content creator.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Like we said, this is recorded, so we plan on distributing it to our wide network of justice impacted students. We appreciate all of your contributions, and just kind of all the words of wisdom and all the networks and opportunities that you have provided and shared for other people. And we hope to continue to grow this programming in the future. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everybody.
Thanks.
See you.
Take care.